Good morning, good morning. Welcome back to day 2 of the OASPA conference. I'm going to just get this out of the way before anyone says, why are you wearing a jumper in Lisbon? And tights. I was at the Alps conference last week and it was in Manchester where it was a bit colder and I haven't had time to do the whole repack summer wardrobe thing. So don't ask me about it. I've got it out of the way. Okay, so today, we're going to kick off in a moment with a keynote, but I'm just going to do a very quick thing that's a bit different. So if we can get the Menti up, please, Andre. Do the thing that you do to get this. This is going to take seconds. While that's happening, if you move to the question in a moment, give people a moment and I'll talk about what's going to happen today. I'm going to start by saying a big thank you to Research Consulting, and in particular, Andre Chiarelli, who's here, who's part of the conference committee, who has done all of this interactivity, Mentimeter stuff for us. He's been really generous and kind and arranged it all just because he's a really nice guy. So thank you, Research Consulting. Thank you, Andrea. Can we move to the question, please? This is about social media, social channels. So I had a quick look at Twitter, I had a quick look at Blue Sky this morning and yesterday. There's some activity. A few years ago, I'd always go to Twitter, and I'd use it as a kind of way to get my key highlights down as a kind of note-taking exercise. It's much quieter these days, so I'm interested to know where you will go for your professional knowledge sharing and connection, because it would be really nice to get off X, in my opinion. But we all should be in the same kind of place, ideally. So yeah, good. Take some pictures of that and see where we are. So, oh good, I can't see what that's like. LinkedIn. Okay, LinkedIn is the most popular. Blue Sky, not many, but I've seen all of those of you who are on there tweeting or posting, sorry. And then, right, can anyone want to shout out the others that they're using or not? Anyone? Any other channels not on here that you use professionally? No? Okay, right. So it's looking like LinkedIn is currently a place where we might want to connect and share. More Blue Sky. Good. Okay, thank you. That's that done. Thanks very much, everyone. That's important for me to try and gather. Okay, right. There'll be a survey appearing tomorrow. Please fill it in. Honestly, tell us the good and the bad, everything. Give us feedback. We really need it. Right, let me see what's happening today. We have now a keynote that's going to be introduced by Sarah. Hopefully she's around and ready. Okay, good. Then there's going to be a poster lightning talk session, and then there'll be a coffee break. So stay here after the keynote. There's then going to be a poster lightning session. Can I ask poster presenters, there's 6 of you, to make your way now or before the lightning talk session. There's a table reserved at the front. There's some space at the front so that you're ready to come up when it's your turn. And I think finally, all I need to mention is lunch. The lunch is going to be on the 2nd floor where you've been having breakfast in the dining room. So that's where you go at lunchtime. And finally, we've got these lovely tables instead of all sitting in rows. So please do talk to each other. If there's someone next to you that you don't know, say hello. You are allowed to talk. We're not at school. It's not an exam. You can talk quietly to each other if something strikes you as interesting. Thank you very much, everyone. I hope I haven't forgotten anything. Hand over now to Sarah to introduce Devika, who is our keynote speaker. Thank you.
Thanks, Bernie, and great to see you all this morning. I hope you all had a great night last night in Lisbon and are caffeinated, had your pastis de nata, and are ready for a great day today. So, as Bernie said, I have the honor this morning again of introducing our keynote speaker this morning. Dr. Devika Madalli is director of INFLIBNET India and serves as a professor at the Documentation Research and Training Center at the Indian Statistical Institution. She is also adjunct faculty at the Department of Information Engineering and Computer Science at the University of Trento in Italy. Devika's interests lie in the area of open data repositories, knowledge organization, information infrastructures, semantic web technologies, faceted ontologies, and multilingual information services. Dr. Madalli is also involved in many other projects and organizations as well. In her talk today, Devika will highlight the different challenges that prove to be barriers in realizing the goals of open access and attempts to discuss potential solutions. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Dr. Madalli to the stage.
Thank you, Sarah, for the kind introduction. Good morning, everybody. And I too hope you had a lovely evening yesterday. This is also my first time in Lisbon, a lovely, lovely city. So I'd like to start by thanking OASPA, especially Malavika, who got in touch with me a couple of years ago about this whole thing about open access and what I think about it. And then things started rolling out. And Bernie, I apologize to you from here for putting you through so much trouble rescheduling me for this hour because I have a flight to catch. So thanks very much. And again, thanks for the opportunity. So I just kept it simple. Again, when Malavika asked me, what shall I title your talk? I just thought, I've been talking about open access. Like, I have been a professor of library and information science for about 28 years now, or it seems like forever, teaching at the Indian Statistical Institute. And of late, recently, I took charge as the director of the National Library and Information Network of India, which is called INFLIBNET. So forever, it seems like a lifetime of an academic that I have been talking about open access. And where did I leave that? Yeah. So I have been talking, I thought enough about open access per se. So I just simply thought, well, let's walk the talk. Let's see what it takes and where we are right now, sort of. So I don't know. This thing doesn't listen to me very well, or the animation is good. Yeah. Before that, please indulge me. I'll just introduce my center, the INFLIBNET. INFLIBNET is a library network center, and it was established in 1991. And it is headquartered at a place called Ahmedabad, maybe some of you know, at Gujarat. And it is a part of the University Grants Commission of India. I think 1 click means 3 clicks in this. I don't know. Interoperability. So we have several open access initiatives. We are India's largest repository of, the only repository of thesis and dissertations of Indian universities. And like I said, I have to go a few clicks. And we have, along with that, a repository of the synopsis. Not working. For some reason, it's not working. Should I just, yeah. Okay, I'll just explain. Okay, Shodh Ganga is our ETD repository. It has about 500,000 theses and dissertations, all in open access, accessible by anybody who has the URL. Then Shodh Gangotri is the repository of research in progress where the synopses are deposited. Along with this, because the Indian government has already mandated that all that goes into an ETD repository has to be checked for plagiarism, and it should be ethically right. So we also give centrally access to plagiarism software where people can check it. And then we centrally have a service for setting up institutional repositories for academic libraries in India. So we have a mandate to help the academic libraries and the universities in India. But INFLIBNET has grown much more than that. We have extended ourselves as a support service for higher education in India itself. So in that sense, we also help somebody like the Indian Council for Social Science Research to set up their data repositories and many such other things. This is just an example. And then we have a database called Vidwan. It is an online network of, Vidwan stands for, it's Indian word for experts. So it's an experts network, and we have the experts registering themselves. We have the IRINS, which is a RIM service, where the service is given to the institute or the university to run their own network of expertise as well as projects. And another byproduct which we launched on the Women's Day this year is the Sherni network. Sherni stands for Lioness, and this is the female research network of India, where we have the female profiles, and they can and we facilitate the women scientists to network, to collaborate on this platform. This platform we opened for India, but some of the Asian countries, Southeast Asian countries, have shown interest to make this network for themselves, and we'll be helping them in the next phase to make the women's network and the Vidwan network for their countries. This is just not working. Would you mind just playing that for me? Press next when I say please. Yeah. Thank you. And we have planned an OJS-based platform and a hosting service for Diamond Open Access Journal. This is on the plan. It is still not approved. It is in discussion, published by academic and research societies in India. The thing is, the INFLIBNET did run a while back an OJS platform and offered it for journals to run their journal subscriptions, journal production, but only to find out after a few years that they were somehow a quality check was not done, and all kinds of journals were using this as a platform, and then they had recalled the service. But now we are again planning to bring it back with only the academic and research institutes and research societies and academic societies taking part in it. So now I start my talk, the business for the day, and my speech. I would like to start by paying respect to all those who have contributed to the furtherance of research and science, including humanities, arts, and social sciences, for sharing their knowledge and work through scholarly publications. Respect to this. And in whatever mode they care to do the research, they care to share this with us, and that is important. For a moment, I want to take you back to where it all started. 1990, the first web page. The first decade after the first web page, we had a lot of interesting open access and towards open access movements, like arXiv, again, respect there. The open OSI or CILO and all the PKP. PKP is used very vastly in India by many of the academic institutes, including us. And we are the culprits there because we started using it at DRTC, the Documentation Research and Training Center, and trained across India the people how they can use these solutions. Then there was, in the next decade, the initiatives like PLOS, the Budapest, the Open Access Initiative, and other things. And then again, going on, we had many other. Now, why did I take you back to this? Because from yesterday, people have been talking about these, and we don't need one more person to say this. So the point I was trying to make is that OA has the beginnings almost, it coincides with the inception of the web, because the web came around, people started talking about how we can network knowledge resources and how that could be done. Now, just think back, I was a student when the web was introduced, and in my institute, in the Indian Statistical Institute, I was a student then, there was a computer kept in a room and it was under lock and key, and then we had to book a time and say that we want to use internet. It was very expensive. And we were given 5 minutes, and the clock started ticking 30 seconds before, and they said, get out of the room, the next person has to. So that's when I started with the web. But then today, where are we with the web? Okay, it is everything is here. We are in AI interventions, ChatGPT, Gemini, and everything else. And open access started as its twin brother or the sister. Where is open access today? Just to compare these two, what's stopping us? And these are the answers we need to find. Okay, I'm sorry with this click. Now I have to do 10 clicks. So there have been several open access declarations, as we know. I'm just going ahead and playing with this button a bit. And several of them, they were significant in their time, with the significant communities around these declarations working to this. One of the most significant one is the DORA declarations, which tried to bring us out of counting metrics in the way that we did. And there are several others. I don't know yeah. The question is, 3 decades plus, where are we with open access? Is the goal achieved? We need to do some soul searching. If not, why not? These are the answers. These are tough. These are questions. I don't have answers. It's easy to ask questions. I was always a teacher, so I ask questions. Not necessary. I know the answers, right? So these are tough questions. The same old debate, the same old argument, the increase in subscription rate of journals. I randomly, in preparation for this talk, looked up again the web and got some graphics right from the 80s, 90s to 2020s. Everywhere, consistently, the subscription rates of journals have gone up. Okay, and one such example is shown by the Justice 2023. That was the latest I could see, where they show the increase is 4.71% per year for the last 10 years. So add that up and you see where that goes. So at the same time, the decrease in library budget. Again, everybody knows this, how much the library budgets have decreased. In India, it's also true. The budget for the universities themselves have decreased, and the universities themselves are not necessarily income-generating bodies. And hence, it becomes a double whammy when the university's budget is reduced. The library is one of the first victims of such a thing. So the same. So then we talk, because of that condition, we talk about open access, open access, open access. But the question again here is, do we understand it the same? Is the meaning of open access the same? Does the term open access mean differently to different communities? I have found yes. The answer is yes. Okay. So I was innocently writing a paper of mine, and then I had written a statement there. Researchers still hesitate to deposit their publication in open access repositories because it does not gain the same reputation as in the reputed journals. This is the statement I made. And a peer reviewer got back to me, obviously from northern part of the world, and said, "You're wrong. The author is wrong in making this statement. Open access is held equally as good as the publications in the reputed journals." Then I started wondering, where did I go wrong? Okay. So where I went wrong was I understood the term open access in another context, and the reviewer understood it in another context, saying that the open access in the good old subscription-based journals has also got the same chance of getting citations. Okay, that's what they perceive, and they actually live in the academic culture, scholarly culture like that. So when a person like me from the other part of the world who does not live in that culture says that it doesn't, the paper doesn't get published, basically. So yeah, could you please just help me with pressing next? Yeah, thank you. So there are different types. Yesterday, I think Dr. Mitchell said that there are different hues and colors to open access, right from gold, green, diamond, hybrid, and bronze, and something in between. Many kinds of these. This is the problem, that people don't necessarily understand all these hues and colors and the differences in this. And then think of the working models for all this. And this is difficult already for us sitting in this room. We have been going to conferences and seminars such as this one and discussing this time and again. Just think of the researchers and the scientists who are doing work in their own labs. And if we go and talk about diamond or green or something, they're not going to follow what we are going to say. So there is already a disparity there, that we have all these models. All these models have different business models to support it, different workflows. And just interpreting all this to our research community, the scientific community, the funding community, the decision makers, this has become too difficult, especially, again, coming from where I come from. Yeah, I don't know why it is. Anyway. So coming to the APC-based model, I already said this, the APC model thrives on the notion of reputation. So if there's one thing the commercial publishers have really worked at and put their entire effort is to build reputation. And build reputation how? By me citing you, and you citing somebody else, and somebody else citing somebody, and then we count it as the repute of the journal as well as the reputation of the authors contributing. That's exactly why I say hybrid is a clever word. Hybrid is really a clever word because when people started talking about open access and some people thought their revenue is going to be hit, then it is better to, when we cannot fight something, to join something. It's just better to do that way. So hybrid is really a clever word. Journals combine subscription-based access with optional or additional OA, leading to many times double dipping. And speaking about the PPP, the purchasing power parity, this also I came across many times when I'm trying to write my papers or get ready for my talks. I ask a question, what is to be purchased in scholarly publication? The English is bad, I know, but it just came out like that. What is to be purchased in scholarly? It's me, an academic, or you, an academic who writes the paper. Another academic is the person who reviews it, gets nothing, paid nothing normally. The editor, the chief editor may get something. And then it's we who again read it. In the whole cycle, there is another player who is just publishing it. Yes, I have respect. They do all that is to be done for packaging, for marketing, for whatever it has to be done. But what is it we are purchasing? It's something that we have to purchase something that I have contributed myself. Okay? So when we talk about scholarly publication as a commodity, it is a very, very rare and strange commodity. Okay? So take the Big Mac analogy. It was already given yesterday by somebody. Big Macs, they cost this in this continent, they cost in this continent, and some kind of consistency is tried to work out, and that's shown as an analogy when we discuss about open access. But is it the one that we should take? So if I am going to sell you this, I say the price of this is 10 euros. You give me 10 euros, I give you this. You no longer have 10 euros with you. I no longer have this with me. That's how commodity works. Okay. Does scholarly publication work like that? Doesn't, right? I get your 10 euros and I get to own this. And not as though that is not enough, I sell it to Bernie for 20 euros. Okay, that's it. So cool job. This is what I say, the Big Mac analogy many times does not apply. So I have again read a few, many works, and I'd like to point out these three where APC's work as a barrier is shown. So the first one shows that the APC range can be anywhere till $5,000. That is the salary. I consider myself as a well experienced academic at the top rung of academia in India, but my salary, that is 2 times my salary or something like that. And just think of the early career researchers who have to pay something like that, it's not going to work. So APCs are also not constant. They keep going higher and higher. And now this report, I would like to quote that the JISC report says that the APC has risen well over the cost of inflation in the past 2 years. They did the study in somewhere in 2018. So it's well over the inflationary rates also, and I do not know what is the rationale for just raising. The other report that caught my attention was the OASPA report, where they interestingly used the word market, the open access market. I really frowned upon it when I read, oh, now we call open access market. And then after reading the whole report and all the material with this, I understood what is meant by this. So I was just now explaining to you the Big Mac thing, where if I sell a thing, I sell it. Okay, I don't own it anymore. So when we talk about open market, this becomes really a problem for lower and middle income group professionals to afford any space in that open space which is marketed at a certain price. So this becomes a problem. And also I found this third one here in the green, the relationship of APCs and the repute and how it works in certain domains. So the higher the reputation of the journal, the higher the APC. The greater the publisher's market power, the higher the APC. The discipline where market is concentrated, higher the APC. So that's how APCs work. So what we need, like I said, it's been about 28, 30 years I have been talking about open access, advocacy. Advocacy is required, but it is certainly not enough by itself. I have joined many groups online and face-to-face in OA advocacy. Everywhere we talked about, everybody nodded in agreement. There was not one disagreement that OA should be there or not be there. The OA should be there, but it never happens. So what we really need is a multi-pronged approach. I'll be talking about each of these in the next few slides. Okay. About the OA policy frameworks, we know that there are several around the world, the OA policy framework. I myself, I'm a co-author of the GOAP, the Global Open Access Portal, where we collaborated with UNESCO from the Indian Statistical Institute. The GOAP collates OA policy frameworks across continents from different countries. So I would urge you to have a looking at this. So the other work I did along with UNESCO was to write up a policy brief where we looked at the global inequality in access and publishing. In the global north, the open access has proved to be much more successful than in the countries of global south. In general, I'm not saying in particular, there are some success stories in the south, which I'll be mentioning later. Countries of the global north in general use several open access models supported by funding mechanisms. That is the key thing. They have funding mechanisms. In the global south, barriers exist to establish similar funding or similar open access models. And many authors from low-income countries are restricted by APCs. This is because there is no gold route often. There is nobody, the university or the University Grants Commission or the federal government cannot afford this. Even as I speak today, I am on a committee where we are talking about the one nation, one subscription model of India, where for the entire nation, we want to go and subscribe at one place, which has happened in other countries. But it is so difficult in India because we have such diversity, the need of resources are different in different universities, different in different domains, and we have had our problems. And even there, when I talk as the library information science person to do away with APCs, they're still considering APCs. Again, what is that they can afford, even from the top government level, is 150,000 crores, and how much that is something minuscule in. Okay. Now, I ask a question. You're keeping aside this as a government for APCs. How will you give it to people? And what would be the model to roll out this? Will you choose domains? Will you choose universities? Will you choose ranked? We have no answers. We just know that they have kept something aside, which is very minuscule. There will be a lot of demand on that amount, and really we do not know how the APCs can be rolled out under that. So that is the kind of this on-ground situation that we are dealing with there. The other is the legal and ethical consideration, the copyright complexities. As I already said, we have trained a lot of people in bringing out, in institutional repositories in India, where we demonstrated institutional repositories technically can be low cost. They need not cost very much, and it is not very hard to bring them up. So we trained a lot of people to bring up their DSpace instances, to set up the green publishing channels, and these things we did. But what we didn't really anticipate is that the content coming in was very, very, very poor. There are many repositories in India. The content coming into it is very, very slow and poor. Then we started looking at what is really happening. But one of the things the people were unclear is about the copyright. What about the copyright? I put over here, do I retain some rights? So we really did not train them for this bit. We realized that we have only trained them for how to technically host. So there's always a gap here where people should really know about what exactly do about rights. Now, I asked this question again to Google: when did publishers start owning journal content? Okay, there was no straightforward answer. I looked for a while, and then I came across a couple of articles. Then I realized this whole thing, the copyright, of course, began with a very noble intention of giving the rights over the content to who produced it. The authors have the rights. If there is any income to be generated, then they could enjoy that. That was the basic tenet of copyright, and it was attached to books. So I wondered when it got transferred to journal publications, there was never really a declaration for journal publication, but it happened slowly and very surely over the time. That is what I realized. So these people, what they did was they had a threefold strategy, and rather than focusing on publication of scientific news and short research reports, which was those days the trend, they sought to be publishers of detailed primary research. This was the first thing that they did. And then they focused on selling these to institutions, which contrasted with what the learned societies used to do those days. The learned societies used to give out copies and call it fair use. And then most importantly, the new players focused on internationalization. And they took these research papers and how they could distribute it internationally. And then they did the ultimate thing, the transfer of rights. Then they brought out these forms where the authors like me and many people like me don't bother to read. I mean, in the world, there are languages. There's English and there's Hindi and there are human languages and there is the other language called legal language. Okay, so that's how it works. We never read through 8 or 10 pages of what's given to us, and then I'm too busy doing something else and I'm actually signing off the transfer of rights. Okay, so this is how slowly but very surely the rights got transferred from the authors to the publishing industry. So how do we sensitize researchers to realize this? Do researchers really care about retaining their rights? We have to find out. We have to let them know that they're signing off their rights to somebody else. Do researchers know about licensing options and what are non-exclusive rights? We might think this is a given. It's not. It's not. I've talked to many researchers. They're very smart in their domain. They do very good cutting-edge research, but they're just not bothered about this whole thing. They say there's somebody else to look after. We prefer somebody else to look after that. And that somebody else is not a formal thing, at least in our context. So we need to do training. We need to create how-tos, and we need to create rights buddies who explain to people what are their rights and how they can really retain these and not. Now, coming to the next one, the public engagement and awareness, again, I have been a part of advocacy groups doing both the top-down approach and the bottom-up approach. The top-down, we engage with governments, the funders, the policymakers, and decision-maker, explain to them how open access in the long run is really beneficial and how they should put their might and their blessings with this. The bottom-up approach, I said, we have been training a lot of people in the data managers, the librarians to bring up repositories, the researchers to know what is open access and such things. So those are the things that we have done so far. Now, way forward, let me just be conscious of the time. Yeah, I have. What are the possible solutions? I have done a lot of call for action. I have written reports, and always, invariably, there is recommendation and call for action. I'm done with it, okay? So I call for disruption. This is what is required. I call for disruption. There are no kid gloves to be held anymore. We don't have to, tiptoe around and then say what we are saying in the way we are doing over the years. So what are the possible solutions? Disruption in the way knowledge is published and distributed. We need disruptive models. Okay. We need disruptions means we need to, first of all, stop talking what we had talking for the last, like myself, 28 years, and have to put on a new hat and start talking something new and thinking something new. And then disruptions in citation and how we count scientific contribution. It is not about counting citations in the way that we are doing now. And we need disruption in the methods for evaluation of research. This is where we need to really part ways with what we have been doing, in my opinion. So the call for disruption is from commercially owned publishing to good old, what was before, the academia-owned or scientific society-owned publishing models. The call for disruption is, again, from commercially owned infrastructures to community-led infrastructures. So as I introduced my center in India, we are working, we are under the UGC, the University Grants Commission. What we have is we let our infrastructure be used across India by universities, but because universities really are resource crunched, they are IT challenged, and they do not have the IT infrastructures in their own campuses. But it is good and it is bad. It is good that they could not have access to all these years. It is bad that they could not have access. It's good that they didn't have, because now they don't have to throw away their old computers somewhere else. They simply have a national infrastructure or another infrastructure which they can use. And we have at INFLIBNET tried to make this from the government of India. It's not just INFLIBNET. Tried to make this as practically workable as possible in terms of the IT infrastructure, also in terms of the money that is required for the participating institutes. Now, the call for disruption in funding models. Who are the funders funding right now? What are they funding? So I would call the disruption again here. As I said, I don't know. I myself am confused between red, green, purple, and whatever open access that is. I simply call it true open access. Okay, let's be true to the definition of what open access should be there. Fund true open access just enough to sustain setting up an operation. So what is that sustainability? I do realize that there is a factor of sustenance. Nothing comes from thin air. I do realize that whatever models that we build henceforth must be also sustainable. Here, I really think is where the global north or east to west, whatever the difference is, can make use of the global south. The global south offers these same infrastructures at a much lower cost. The global south can offer to the global north much cheaper manpower. The global south can offer to the global north skilled manpower. So this is where there could be a dialogue, there could be some way of discovering how the handshake could happen, how the sustenance can be worked out. I myself was in Toluca last year. This year I cannot be in Cape Town, what Reggie was telling yesterday. But there was the discussion where there were very workable models shown to us from Ridalic, from La Referencia, and all the others who come together there, and how they have made it work at a cost that is sustainable, still sustainable. And the access to resources is really the global south, the Latin American countries, including Caribbean, everybody, they could throw open the resources. So that is, now the real call for disruption is here. And the real crux of the matter, why open access has stayed where we started off, is because we are never upfront with the incentive structures and academic recognition for those who contribute to open access, in my view, again. So the crux of the matter is, again, coming back, how the reputation and impact factor has worked, how the commercial journal publishers have built up some notion which has been deeply ingrained in our brains that there is a reputation, and that is led by impact factor. OA journals still struggle with perceived low prestige compared to the high impact journals. Here I work with my principle. Knowledge is the same, whether priced or not priced, whether it's open. So how does it matter if I have written my paper and I have gone and published in a completely diamond open access where there was no exchange of money? For me, diamond open access money is, in my definition, no exchange of money. That is what is open access. So if I have written up a paper and I have gone and published there, how is it so different from the same paper which is being published with an impact factor as high as 3 or 4? It's the same thing, okay? It's the same peer reviewers from one of us or our universities that are going to peer review it for quality, and it's the same, again, one of us who's going to read it and produce knowledge again. So how is knowledge different in a prized high impact journal, and how the same knowledge is not knowledge when it is in open access? That's why I work with the principle that knowledge is the same, prized or open. And I call for, again, disruption. This is already going on, reform in methods for evaluation of research, which will be considered for career progression of professionals. So we talk a lot, right? We talk a lot, but we need to, and again, we train a lot to make green open access possible. But I said that the content is not coming in at the pace that I would like to see it. So we need to assure the researchers of incentives and rewards with clear value for contributing in OA. This will be considered for their career progression. So we need to send across this message in a way that we will convince somebody to go and publish in these Diamond Open Access journals. So there are already very formal initiatives that have taken off for the evolution in the practices of evaluation of research. I am a co-chair of the RDA interest group on evolution of methods in evaluation of research. And our first output is out. It has been published very, very recently, 12th of September. So I would urge you to have a look at this RDA value for evaluation of research. We have tried to capture what RDA does in this arena in that. And we are also marching towards having a directory of all the reforms in evaluation of research on this website over there. And then second one, all of you already know this, the Coalition for Advancing Research Assessment. They are looking at a lot of methods where the research evaluation can be much, much broader than the Hirsch index itself. Now, this is a concept that is close to my heart. I talk about open content metrics all the time. So there must be metrics. There have been several metrics, and I am one of the persons who always say that metrics did more bad than good to science. Okay. I am one of the persons who says that. But then again, having said that, it takes a diamond to cut a diamond, it takes a glass to cut a glass. We need metrics which mean something, which are socially responsible metrics. So we cannot say that we can do away with metrics. We still need to give our decision makers something to say that X will be promoted because of A, B, C, D, E, and that A, B, C, D, E need not be H index and whatever. And Y will not be promoted this year because this is lacking. So a decision maker in the end cannot have like a report reading. They need some metrics in the end. So we need to give them metrics. So I am talking about for that reason, and the other reason is to give attribution, to give real value to and encourage authors to become open access authors, open authors. That is another term I coined. I call them open authors, those who dare to publish in the open, Diamond Open Access. So metrics to recognize the contribution of authors and researchers to open content. The need for open content metrics, there are no dedicated metrics as of now, at least in my knowledge, to assess how open a journal is and how much an author has published as an open access author. Okay? It is necessary to provide journals and authors incentives to consider publishing open access content. Otherwise, why should they publish it? What is there in it for me? That is the question. So OCMs, here I did a very, very rudimentary exercise of working out O factor of a journal and how we can work out O index of researchers, which is open factor for journals, how open a journal is, and O index, how much an author has contributed to open content. So this is really rudimentary work, but the idea here is to spread the idea around that there should be open content metrics. So this should really, the OCM should be incorporating the open science practices, the data sharing, and having public engagement in the end. That is why I coined the term open content metrics. So having said that, I am having just 5 minutes, maybe I can stop here in another minute and interact before the interesting lightning speeches. I don't want to be there. So be mindful of the other half of the planet, whether you call it north or south, east or west. There is the other half. which we don't relate to. We living in the global south don't relate to the culture, the scientific culture that people work in the global north, and vice versa. Or now the debate is also west to east. So there are regional differences. If you go to the GoAP, the Global Open Access portal that we brought up along with UNESCO, you will see the various ways we have tried to map entire in the world with on 4 different things: the policy making, the institutional repositories, the copyright laws, and the funding mechanisms. We have tried to do that. I urge you to go in. There we can clearly see the regional differences in the OA perception, the disparities in funding that is available and the resources available. There are geopolitical differences. Yesterday, Joy was also mentioning this. Europe mostly led in gold open access, and it has the support for it. North America emphasized green OA with a lot of repository ambience. In Asia, there are a few policies doing well. So, like in India, we did the right thing in about 2014. Our government, the federal government, brought out a law saying that all data out of publicly funded projects, data sets, must be deposited in an open access repository. This is about data. So that part we did right. So likewise, we have examples in Asia. In South America, like I said, some of the really mentionable ones are there. The Clasco, the La Referencia, the Ridali Camelica have been success stories. So there are a kind of a mix kind of a thing, a grand mix of things. So we really need to be mindful of the other half and what they are doing. At last, I present just a problem statement because I don't have solutions. Access to knowledge has become unaffordable. Lack of knowledge hinders and limits academic and scientific pursuit. Hindrance to academic and scientific pursuit hinders research and innovation. I would like to also end by paying respect to all those who contributed to the furtherance of research and science, including Hess, for sharing their knowledge and work through scholarly publication. The bottom line is they deserve free and unfettered access to the knowledge they created. Disrupt and be done with it. That's what. Thank you very much. Any questions? I have 1 whole minute, I think. Oh, okay. I marked it wrongly here. Yeah, there is a question.
Microphone's working. Oh, there it is. Scott Delman from the ACM. Thank you for the presentation. That was wonderful. Could you talk just for a moment about the ONOS initiative in India? I didn't hear anything about that, but I know that's a major open access initiative.
ONOS?
ONOS, the One Nation.
ONOS is not an open access initiative, sorry. It's still a subscription-based consortium approach where I am a member of the committee and we are negotiating with a negotiated price for the entire country with the publishers. So in India, we had consortia, 10 major ones, and they had networked their own domain-based or service-based institutes, and these 10 existed on their own. And the effort now, the ONOS, the One Nation, One Subscription, was announced by the Prime Minister of India, where we are bringing together these consortium together and negotiating one price. Again, somebody mentioned this yesterday, that why do we make consortia? Consortia is to save money. No, money will not be saved. This is my experience. We only give more access to more people. That way we save money. The money, as in how much goes out of the pockets of Government of India, is not saved. Okay, and that was one tough question to answer to our government, that you said you'll save money, but now you're coming back and asking us for double the amount of what we used to pay. And this is something that that needed a lot of convincing. So that is ONOS, it's not open access.
Katrina McCallum Wiley. That was great, really.
Thank you.
I don't think I disagreed with anything you said. But do you think there's a role for commercial companies, they could be commercial publishers, within the scholarly communication landscape? And how could there be a role for them where they were a trusted player compared with now where they are not trusted? Can you foresee a time where publishers act as service providers and can still have a profit-driven motive?
Yeah, they're already doing. I have an example in India that some of our scholarly societies, they were having their own publications. And like I said, scholars are good at their domains and they don't really have time for other things to do. So the scholarly societies were not exactly having the infrastructure needed for publishing, but somehow they were publishing journals. And these journals were journals of repute because they come right from the labs and they are reporting primary research. And now they have tied up, because they didn't have that expertise, they tied up with commercial publishers to have a platform for them, and the publishing is taken care of by, because that is very normal for the publishing industry to do. But the trade-off is it is allowed to be shared as open access on the website of the society itself. So there are already such partnerships happening in India.
Follow up to that, because I think there are a lot of societies that aren't officially not-for-profit, but are also driven by the profit motive, where revenue for their society takes priority over scholarship, if you like. And it seems to me that and the reward system, how we can get the players to collaborate and cooperate more, where scholarship is also part of the bottom line of publishers. So I think there's a lot of, like, Wiley partners with hundreds of societies to do that. But it's just whether it is possible with all this context of Diamond Open Access Publishing that you can have a profit-driven business within a system that is about a public good. You know, is it possible? Maybe it's a big. Maybe it's just not answerable.
Yeah, let me take off my kid gloves. It's not possible. It's not possible. Profit and the scholarly work, the way it exists, has to be disrupted. That's why I called for disruption. I didn't call for action. The model has to be disrupted. We should not think anymore that we'll make a few tweaks here, a few tweaks there, and it's going to work. It's not going to work. We've realized that. We are 3 decades into discussion. And there are smart people. Smart people have done atomic bombs. They have gone to the moon. They have gone to the Mars. There are smart people on planet. Is this such a difficult one to crack? Why is this so difficult? Okay, why is it difficult? So obviously there's a problem here. We are trying to tweak a bit here, tweak a bit there, walk around something. No, let us take it head on and answer a few questions. Thank you.
Devika?